Welcome, everybody. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As I said, welcome, everyone. I have one thing that I'd like to add to the agenda, and is the junk ordinance. I don't know if anybody's here for that, but I would like to be able to give them an opportunity to ask questions. And so we put it under open public comments?
Seconded.
Yes.
Okay? Anything else? All right, motion's been made and seconded to add to the agenda the junk ordinance under the open public comments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Vernon has lost two great community members of Don Damian and Rena Shippey. Our condolences to their family and their friends, and Vernon will surely miss you both. And we will go right to open comments. Is anybody here for the junk ordinance? Mike, come on up to the microphone. I kind of figured you probably were.
Hello, Mike Vernon. I just received this ordinance today, and I was pretty surprised by it. I thought it was just lack of my paying attention. So I called the planning commission, and they hadn't heard of this ordinance either that you guys have pushed through. I mean, I think that the first line of the ordinance, you know, the purpose to regulate, you know, outdoor storage. I think that's all this is, and I don't think it's right at all. I mean, I think that, you know, you could take some Mozart painting that might be very appealing to somebody, and to me, it has no appeal, you know? So somebody's looking at somebody else's treasure as somebody else's junk. I mean, a lot of people that store junk, they're very attached to it. You know, to them, it's a prize. And for you guys to say that you can't have that prize, I don't think is right. So I'm very much against this. I think it's just, you're opening all kinds of doors to maybe somebody here doesn't like looking at a pile of manure. So are we gonna start saying you can't store manure outside? Or somebody, you know, whatever the case to be, you know, some of the stuff in here may make sense, you know, of you're saying to somebody, well, we can't have vehicles leaking oil, and they'll say, oh yeah, I agree with that. So they're gonna say, okay, well, part of this vehicle not leaking oil in the ground is that we're gonna make an amendment. You can't store any junk or anything that's gonna leak oil. Well, there's so many strings attached to that, you know, to buy into this, you're buying into 5 other things, and I don't agree with that. And it happens so much in government that you want one thing to be good, but you gotta buy the other 9 things that are attached to it. And what we're doing here, it isn't right. I mean, just whatever you have at your folks' home that you like, do you want somebody telling you you can't have that? You know, if you wanna live in that type of environment, and I don't know who's bringing it up, but my guess is that a lot of times the junk was there when you was already there when you moved into your place. So you had the option then if you didn't want to be near it. I mean, in some cases, somebody might have moved in next door and started collecting junk. Well, if they did, maybe you could have brought the property, or why is it up to them to shield you from their looks or whatever? If you don't like their looks, should it be up to them to shield you from, or should you just shield yourself from it? So I think we should put the burden on whoever doesn't like it. Maybe they should be the ones putting up the barricade fence. But I mean, there's always gonna be somebody who doesn't like what somebody else is doing, and this is one of the few communities, and one of the big reasons why I moved down here. I was really excited about the fact there wasn't no zoning, somebody telling you what you can do with your land that you worked hard for and you're paying the property taxes on. And I understand the argument, well, I'm paying the property taxes too, but but we're not trying to tell you what to do with your piece. You do what you want with your piece. If you wanna shield yourself from something going on around you, you're more than welcome to do it. But to put the burden on the person who may actually like that, that you have the museum. They post stuff out there all the time. Some of it I may drive by, I may like, some of it I may look at and say, why did they waste their time, But, I don't have to look over there. I can look to the left. I mean, there's no 360-degree places that you're forced to look at, whatever you might call somebody junk. So I was disappointed by it, so I wanted to come down and talk to you folks about it, and think you ought to reconsider what you're proposing here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve, do you have anything, any comments?
Well, I was wondering, do you want to collect everyone's comments, or I'd be
Yeah.
happy to weigh in?
Yeah, let's
It's
wait.
up to you.
Anybody else? Do you have extra copies of that? Did you take it by any chance? No. Okay.
Okay, Carol Hammond. First of all, I recognize that you folks have the right to impose these ordinances. But, as Mike said, purpose to regulate outdoor storage and disposal of junk vehicles, abandoned vehicles, in order to protect public health, safety, and well-being of the public, and protect the environment. To address that, we have vehicles on our property. Bill does most of the maintenance on our vehicles, and we have parts vehicles, 4 parts to keep things going on the vehicles that we're using presently. It's a lot cheaper to go down back and get a piece off another truck than it is to go out and buy something new. The same with materials that were listed. There's quite an extensive list of materials. For a self-employed contractor, they sometimes bring things home from a job, or perhaps have the opportunity to take down a building and reuse or repurpose the materials that are there. Rather than throwing them away, they can be reused. Vehicles that perhaps are not roadworthy, can't be inspected, can still be used as a yard truck, like our dump truck, for example. We use it for yard work. It can be used for plowing, for moving wood, dirt, whatever. And according to the ordinance, once this vehicle was discovered, we would have 6 months to either get rid of it, or that's all the time that we could keep it. One thing, I looked up in 6 different dictionaries to try to get a good definition of junk. And all of them pretty much said the same thing, and they define junk as old or discarded articles that are considered useless or of little value. Building materials which can be reused or repurposed are not junk, because they're still usable, they still have value. The materials that we have on our property, our vehicles, they do not pose a health hazard. They do not pose a threat to the public health, safety, or well-being of the public or the environment. I guess one thing that bothers me is way back in grade school, if there were kids that were causing problems, instead of a teacher saying, okay, we're gonna get to the root of this problem, there was a blanket punishment for everyone. And I feel that this is how this is. It's just you've got evidently people that you are targeting, and therefore you're just gonna have a blanket statement for everything to supposedly remedy the situation. I know the ordinance won't affect everyone. I know that there are people in town who live in developments that have covenants that can't have more than one vehicle or two vehicles. But we bought our property, we paid taxes on it all these years, and there are rights that property owners have for when they buy a piece of property. There's called the bundle of rights. And I know that an ordinance can trump that in some cases, but I really think that you ought to, I hope you will reconsider. Thinking of fencing in, putting fences around, I like Mike's comment. If someone doesn't like the looks of your, something, why can't they put a fence up? Why does it always have to be the person who has extra stuff around? And just for kicks, I called one of the fencing companies. 8-foot stockade fencing is $200 for an 8-foot section. For us, that would be cost prohibitive, as well as putting up a big building to put everything in. It's just, we just would not be able to do that. And I was wondering too, is in the ordinance, it refers to people who are driving by on a traveled highway or abutting neighbors, that things have to be behind a fence so that they can't see them. We've never had problems with our neighbors. I have asked in the past if things that are lined up down back, if that was a problem. No. And to have something that would screen, thinking of like if you had some nice vegetation or whatever, to have it screen 4 seasons out of the year is not gonna happen, because when the leaves go, you're gonna see it in the wintertime. And what about people who they have a long driveway, their stuff isn't visible from the road? Are they not affected by this ordinance? It would just be people on the main roads that are here in Vernon. I think it's invasive, an intrusive ordinance, has a potential to pit neighbor against neighbor. And I think in this time when we're talking about community, getting people to work together, I don't think that involves spying on your neighbors and saying, haha, they've got something that I don't like to look at. So that's my comments, and I have a copy.
Thank you very much. Come on up, Bill. Just a couple of minutes, we gotta keep it going.
I think the biggest thing that you're overlooking here is this affects people who don't have a nice home somewhere. Maybe, I think our house is nice, but who don't have the ability, the finances, or the lifestyle that this is asking for. If you want a lifestyle like this, go to Chesterfield, or go to a nice place in Brattleboro. But to spoil our town by taking the rights away from a few people, which I looked around. I stopped to help a guy plowing the other day. His truck broke down. His truck's not registered. He just plows his area because he has a long area. The town wings it all over there, and he's there. And I tried to help him get it started because it broke down. He doesn't have a garage. He doesn't even have a place to put it out of sight. He doesn't hardly have a room to put a fence up in front of it. And you're telling him he can't have that truck. And we've been here a long time, but I basically am retiring because of injury, out of work. My whole life, my dream is to work on old vehicles. I got a 31 Model 8 I want to work on. I got a 30 pickup. I got a 34 Chevy hot rod. I got a 38 Chevy dump truck. I got a 55 International. And a buddy of mine went through some hard times and being a softie, against my wife's wishes, I let him put 6 vehicles down back. A 42 Willys Jeep is a highly collectible item. The tires have been up. He's been in storage 15 years. I've got 4 or 5 of them. I had been renting the bays at Smead. Where are we gonna put them? So we put them down this summer, we had to put them down. I went ahead and got permission to have some of that stuff. two by tens, 24-foot long rafters, they're $60 a piece. I got 60 to 70 of them now. They're used, but they're in perfectly good shape for what I'm gonna use them for. I got all the metal roofing and the purlins. There's no way I could put that up in 80 days, 180 days. There's just no way I could. Especially when I can't afford to hire a big contractor to come in and do it. And I'm working with half my right arm. And then you come in with this thing without notice. This should have been talked about. Even when the planning board even know about it. It looks like you're trying to sneak it through, to put it through. This is what Obama has done to our country. And
Yeah,
I'm
don't
saying,
go there,
I'm saying,
please.
you got a problem, because this is a select board's problem.
Okay, listen,
And you're too busy to deal with it. What you should do then is form a committee to deal with it. I understand about being busy. And you don't make a law. By making a law, you're pushing the problem onto the police and onto the neighbors. And by putting it on the neighbors, you're pitting neighbor against neighbor.
That's
You're
not our
just asking
intention,
for trouble.
Bill, I'm sorry. I don't want you to get angry and upset with us, and
Yes.
but I do understand your
Right. This
your
ordinance is
comments.
invasive, it's
but-
intrusive, has potential to pit neighbor against neighbor. What are the talk about our community, trying to build and bring people closer together and try to encourage business?
Yes, we've been through that.
This doesn't do that.
And I.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Anybody else? No, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I just want to explain something to the group here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Behind
see
the
you.
post.
Yeah, I
Oh.
didn't see you behind the post.
Alex,
No, that's fine.
Alex, sorry.
It's been mentioned a couple times, and I wanna bring it up again, and the purpose of this, it says that it's to protect public health, safety and well-being, and to protect the environment, but I don't see that in the meat of this. It's talking about fences and removal and so just call it what it is. And I personally, I don't think it's right. I think we're calling out other people for their lifestyles, and if, like Mike said, if you don't like what you see, then either talk to the person, be a neighbor about it, or put up your own fence so that you don't have to look at it. You know, if this were enacted in Bernardston, you wouldn't drive down to the end of 142 and see a fence in front of Cook's trucks that people are always taking pictures of and stuff. So I just think, I think there needs to be some more consideration. I think we need to really look at this and see the hearts of people that it's gonna affect.
Thank you for your comment. Honest, people, it wasn't our intention to harm anyone or to pit neighbor against neighbor or any of that. That was not, I believe we had a couple of incidences where people had rubbish and the water was starting to build up and mosquitoes were breeding and that kind of thing. And that's what we were thinking of. We were trying to help people, not hurt anyone. Go ahead, Steve.
yeah, I'd like to give you all at least a picture here of what happened with this. That this, as far as this being a warned item, we have in fact been discussing this for
Quite some
several
time.
meetings. Every one of the meetings that we discussed this in, it was publicly noted on the board that we're gonna be discussing a junk ordinance. It was on the agenda. And we can show you copies of the agenda if you'd like, and it was posted upstairs, you know, in the due process. We did collect comments from some people who actually favored doing something about several, I guess, qualities of environment particularly that they were concerned about. And I think you're all aware that, yes, when you park an old vehicle somewhere, it wasn't leaking when you parked it there. But they do over time, when they gather water and the block cracks and the thing freezes up, that you can get leakage. We're concerned about that, not just from the standpoint of what's happening to your property, but remember the groundwater table, as we learned from Vermont Yankee, it can also visit your neighbors. So we have to be careful about saying, well, it's my property and therefore I'm not affecting anyone else. It can in fact contaminate groundwater and move to your neighbors. one of the other.
The state has laws against that.
Excuse me?
I mean,
What?
The state has laws against that.
I'm well aware of
We
that.
need more
and
laws to
I'm
enforce
well
laws that
aware,
are already there.
I'm very familiar with the state laws.
Oh, okay.
But what I want to try to explain to you is what we were considering with this town ordinance, okay? First off, as far as several people have mentioned a vehicle that they use on premises to plow snow or whatever, that's specifically exempted in section 3F. It says, a junk motor vehicle means a discarded, dismantled, wrecked, scrapped, or ruined motor vehicle or parts thereof, or a motor vehicle other than an on-premise utility vehicle. So those are excluded. You can have one of those or two or three or however many you need to get your work done. It allows that here.
Yeah, but you're
The-
opening yourself to interpretation.
Excuse me, when you were talking, I didn't interrupt you. I would really like it if you could give me the same courtesy, because it breaks my train of thought, and I don't have much of a train of thought sometimes. So let me get back to the way we headed with this. What we said is, yes, there may be some parts of this that aren't perfect, but this does in fact aim towards trying to number one, reduce the potential environmental pollution that may occur. It also satisfies the concerns that some residents here in town, and they aren't here tonight, but some residents in town are worried that they moved into town, the property across the street was fine, and then all of a sudden, it's being used to collect everything under the sun. Some people in town are concerned about that. Now, you're saying, well, they shouldn't be, but I know you and I live in an area where we can't even see our neighbors, right? So, I mean, that's the other perspective we have. If you have enough property so you don't even see your neighbors, you don't worry about that sort of thing, right? But some people here in town don't have that kind of acreage. They have maybe an acre or two, and they're concerned about that, and I can understand that. I want to get to the final point, though, before we go any further, and that is the 9 steps to passing a new ordinance, okay? First, the select board adopts the ordinance, which is what we did. The ordinance is included in the minutes and posted in 5 places around town, which apparently we did because here we are all tonight. Within 14 days of adoption by the select board, it must be published in a local newspaper. And we've done that. And then voters have 44 days, it's a month and a half, to submit a petition signed by 5% of the voters to call a vote to determine whether or not the voters will disapprove of the ordinance. Okay?
There is a petition out there.
And there's a petition out there, and I don't know who's got it, but
I don't know.
please look it up and
But I
sign
have
it.
heard there is.
I'm looking at this from a level up here in terms of trying to satisfy the concerns of townspeople. And that is that the select board did promulgate this ordinance, but there are things that citizens should do, can do, and should do to get involved in this process. They didn't come forward during the review process. If we'd heard from you all at that point in time, we might have taken a different tact. I'm not saying that we would have, but we might have. And so anyway, 44 days to submit the petition, and then if the petition is received, the select board shall call a special meeting within 60 days of receipt. And the voting will be from the floor unless you decide to do an Australian ballot. And if it's not disproved, then it will take effect. But, you know, if there are enough people in town that don't want this kind of ordinance, or do want this kind of ordinance, then they have the option of going one way or the other with it. And that's the process that we use with ordinances. And I just wanted to review that with you all because I think it's important that this is not a done deal. This is part of a stepwise process that we're involved in now, okay? And I guess based on that, I certainly would entertain any other questions. Or-
Well, we gotta move on.
We have
but
to move on.
January 18th is the 44th day to get that petition in, and I do believe there's a couple of them. I do know that my nephew had one Ed Class, he had one. And I can't remember who he did say, you had one, okay. And, Bill Hammond has one, so if you're interested in signing that, remember, it has to be in by, January 18th. Would you like to say anything? Sandy? Emily? We're gonna move on.
Number.
Excuse me?
5%.
90.
He would know, I wouldn't.
I just had one more question. How does it affect the people that are, like your nephew, that are in the junk business?
It shouldn't affect them at all, it's a business that they have. It shouldn't affect the businesses, right? Am I correct?
It isn't saying that.
Yes.
The salvage yards are not under this. You
Yes.
decide to take that out, those are regulated by the state though.
Yeah.
They are still
Sal-
under rules.
She's saying salvage yards are regulated by the state. We took it out of there, that's why it's not in there. So,
Like, even up in my yard, I have lots of junk. I'm not a salvage yard. I don't have a salvage yard license. How would that affect me?
Well, then perhaps the state would be, or maybe you should talk
I
to the
think he would still
state.
fall under the state, he has his business,
You
that's his
should fall
business.
under the state. We just actually reviewed a permit for another person who, well,
Yeah, but
I
this
don't
isn't
know.
a state regulation you're talking about, this is a town regulation.
This is, but there's a state regulation that I think you might
You
wanna
fall
look
under.
into.
Yeah, but, state regulation says I can, it's just like, state may say you can do something, but a town could have an ordinance against it, so you can't do it in that town.
Yeah, I believe the state,
We
it needs to be made
actually
clear.
discussed this with another person who had a yard here in town where he has vehicles that he takes parts from to build new vehicle, or
Yeah.
restored vehicles
Yeah.
with. And he said that he had to have a permit from the state, and that, so he was covered by that permit.
right, and we made sure we didn't include.
Yeah, we didn't want to
We
include
didn't
that.
wanna include that.
That, yeah.
Go ahead, Bill, one more, last time.
Part of my retirement is to work on old cars. I got a number of them. And so you're saying that if I'm gonna work on these old cars and I need to get a permit from the state, I don't think they would say I'm big enough.
Only if you're a salvage yard.
I'm not a salvage yard.
Then
I don't
think
sell
so.
parts
I
there
don't-
for my
I don't
own.
think that you fall under this as well. But there's things we gotta work out too. I mean, we gotta think about this, like Steve said, had you all come when we were looking at this, I didn't get all this that you're saying.
It's
and-
the first I heard of it was 2 days ago.
Well,
We have
we've had-
warned it,
About it,
we
what's
have
our call
warned
today?
this, at every one of the discussions we've had have been warned and posted
Yeah.
on the bulletin boards here.
Yeah, but the planning commission didn't even know about it.
Well,
That's what was- that
as
was
I
what really
said,
blew me
They
away.
wouldn't.
the planning commission gets copies of the select board agenda every time they go out electronic.
Right, but they're not, they're zoning, this isn't a zoning, this is just a town ordinance policy kind of a
It's a
deal.
step towards zoning, but it's.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
yes, of course, I was reminded here by my compatriot that one of the things that is, well, first and foremost in our minds, is the health hazard aspect of this. It's not only groundwater. There are children who run free and loose here in town. And things like this become an attractive nuisance for kids to climb around in and get in trouble with. That's why they have a requirement, for instance, in Vermont, about taking the doors off your refrigerators. It's that kind of thing that we're concerned about. We don't want to have an accident and say, geez, I wish we'd taken some action beforehand. You know, that's what and that's my concern. I have no children, never have had any, but I still am concerned about the children of the community and that they not get involved in some difficulties.
I just don't know how we all made it to the age we made it to.
You know, Mike, that is.
That's true.
That's an
All
approach,
the
that's an
things that I gotta
approach
do.
that's convenient to take, but today is a different world out there.
well,
I guess, can I say something? I guess I'm ready to say something.
okay, okay.
So I'm gonna say one thing and then hopefully we can move on and you guys, if you wanna do the
Permit.
permit
I mean,
process and
petition,
change it, that's
sorry.
fine. The select board as a whole, we looked at this as a health hazard thing. We didn't look at it to keep you from having parts vehicles, we didn't keep you from your retirement plans, we didn't keep you from having a plow truck.
pin
That's
neighbor
not
against
what we
neighbor.
were looking for. We were simply looking to reduce health hazards for those people that don't take care of the items that they treasure, as Mike said, in the same way that people that do take care of the items that they treasure. That's what we are looking to guard against. This is, unfortunately, yeah, it has to be a blanket policy. There's no way around it. And unless what we do is call the health officer every single time something happens and say, hey, Mark, you need to go out into so-and-so's property and take care of this and bring it back to the select board, which we can do. That's what we've been doing all these years, and we'll continue to do it that way if that's what the town decides to do. But as I said, we're not looking to take anything away from anybody. What we're trying to do is reduce the health hazards that some of these things that this stuff can happen. And that's what we're trying to guard against. If you guys decide to get rid of it, you're the town, so be
Get
it.
rid of it, yep.
It starts out with good intentions,
It does.
Absolutely, 100%.
you know?
100%. We're not trying to take anything away from anybody or do anything underhanded, as we mentioned several times. It's been on our meeting minutes. Actually, Michelle was beating us to death to actually review the thing because it's been on the meeting minutes so many times that we needed to do something with it. So I'm sorry if you guys didn't catch that all the times it was on the meeting minutes, but we were simply trying to reduce the risks of health hazards by it. That was our intention all along. It wasn't our intention to take anybody's vehicles from them or anything else.
Okay, we're moving on. Farmland Committee. Art,
Good evening.
come on up. Good evening, how are you?
I am well, Kristen. I'm glad to
Me
hear you-
too.
I'm glad to hear you're better.
Absolutely.
Yep,
I thought I was dying, I'm not kidding you,
I understand.
but
glad to
I'm
hear
here.
it. Yep.
praise the Lord. Okay, go ahead.
A couple of years ago, there's a group of us, Skip Baldwin, Jeff Hardy, Ellen, and Maddie, that got together and put up a proposal for the farmland for Net Royden's property. The town in turn voted that down. Afterwards, a while later, we had a gas plant considered going on our farm. I thought there'd be a conflict of interest, so when it came around to, if we wanted to re-up be on the Farmland Committee, I decided not to. And you guys sent out your letters, because I didn't want to be, see it in the Reformer, chair of Vernon Farmland Committee sells out the gas plant. So,
Yeah.
didn't think that'd be good. So quit at that time. Since then, I've been approached by a couple of people and thought it would be appropriate to come back and probably get our team rejuvenated again. We have a proposal
Good.
from Jeff Dunkley on a parcel of land down there. Also been approached by Kristen Carr for a parcel that they would like to see maybe under the farmland protection. So I think we ought to get that committee active again.
Okay.
And so I have spoken with Skip Baldwin, because he was on before, and I have spoken with Jeff Hardy. They're willing to continue. I believe Maddie Arms was still going, and Jeff thinks Ellen would be willing to be part of it as well. So I think that was the crew we had before, and again, looking to do something. I'd like to get something in the, specifically on the Dunkley property, get something in the town report, and hopefully have a vote on that town meeting day.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't believe we can act quick enough for the Carr property. Before we did with the Net Royden property, we had a special town meeting, and my pulse after that was I'd rather not, just have maybe the hearing sometime maybe in February timeframe.
Okay.
And
Yeah, you have to get with Michelle to get an article written up and all that, because
Yeah.
you'll still have to go through all that at town meeting as well.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think we'd just, my preference would be to just, instead of having a separate town meeting, maybe have some sort of informational meeting in February, but then have a vote on it at town meeting.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. So you said yourself, Skip Baldwin, Jeff
Jeff Hardy,
Hardy, that's it.
Maddie Arms, and Ellen.
Maddie Arms.
Ellen
and
Hardy.
Ellen Hardy, okay.
So, Madam
Yeah.
Chair, I make a motion that we reappoint that committee and get it going again. Second.
Any more discussion on that?
Well,
Motion?
the only question I have is, you said that you would be prepared in February to have some sort of public information hearing on this to present, for instance, what the details of the Dunkley property are and so forth, and how much it's gonna cost and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You'd be ready as soon as February to do that?
I'm actually ready tonight, I think.
Oh, well, so you're way ahead.
Wow.
And
Well, the
this is-
Dunkleys are way ahead.
And this
Not
is
our-
something that you've already discussed with what you have for the Farmland Committee, or no?
No, I met with Jeff, when was it, last week sometime, and more specifically, there
Oh,
was.
is Jeff on the committee,
No.
Farmland?
Jeff
No.
is not on the committee.
No.
No. They've been working in conjunction with the Vermont Land Trust. And so they're asking the town to, a portion to come from the town, the bulk of it coming through the Vermont Land Trust.
Sure.
All right, anything else? Motion's been made and seconded to appoint Art Miller, Skip Baldwin, Jeff Hardy, Ellen Hardy, and Matty Arms to the reestablished Farmland Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. You have your committee.
All right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Capital plan? Come on up.
Getting up is harder than coming.
Well, it's always hard for me to get up. Yeah, I know that feeling. Sitting on the floor. Is this a good change? Wow, that cleared right out. Come on in, sign the, entry thing there and have a seat, please. I think we have one. We have it.
I didn't have the last line on. I
She's
know this
modified
got
it,
cut
so
off.
throw the
Oh,
others away.
okay.
The
You
last
don't have a
line
date
didn't
on
print
this, do
out.
you? Well,
So
how
that's-
many?
Oh, I,
Okay,
Yeah,
oh, I
that's-
see.
I think
Need
there's
those?
Yep.
Yes.
So the date on this one will be tonight?
tonight.
what was the last thing?
The last line didn't print out.
Yeah, well, what is it? Just a note, right?
Everybody have it?
Yeah.
Just a note.
I don't, but that's all right.
I made a motion.
Thank you.
So this is December 19th.
The only difference is the last line. When I printed it, I thought it was on there, but it wasn't there. There's no changes to this from what we discussed at the end of our meeting last time. The only change is the need year for the lawn tractor has been pushed back. I talked with Seth and he felt that that was a reasonable date. And of course, every year we'll review it and see what the needs are. So that might change, but right now, that's the date we're gonna start with. But there are no other changes than what you saw last time.
Yeah, this is awesome. You've all done wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I added down at the bottom that note, review yearly. Those three things that we took off of the capital plan, but we wanna make sure they don't get forgotten.
Right.
And I'd like to thank my committee members for the hard work that they've done and the meetings that they've come to, so.
Yes, we absolutely concur with that. Go ahead, Sandy.
I move that we approve the capital plan as presented.
Thank you.
I appreciate all your hard work.
Second.
Well, it's everybody's hard work.
Yeah. All right, motions, any more discussion on that? Motion's been made and seconded to accept or approve, did you say?
Approve or accept, whichever.
Okay, approve the, and accept, why not both, right?
Yeah, right.
The Vernon capital plan as presented, and with great gratitude for all of your hard work. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very, very much. Very, very nice. All right, Sheriff's Department, Officer Norton?
Oh, okay.
Well, Mike Caramel, I don't know. How are you, Mr. Officer Norton? I almost said Mr. Norton.
Did you have a handout today?
I do.
Oh, good. Oh, that, all right.
That's all I have for a handout,
I see.
just updated.
All right. I must have.
That's a quarterly activity.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
get that
You do
last
not
time?
have a copy,
How come?
because he was gonna give you a copy.
I thought you were making the copy.
I don't have a copy of that.
I read it on
Nice.
Facebook every
Email
week,
it
so
to
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Well, I do have a copy that we can make copies of.
Nah, that's all right.
We don't have. a
You
copy.
can read
Pass
it.
it around, they just wanna glance at it anyway.
Nah.
I didn't get you.
Note, I scared everybody off.
No.
Yeah, did you notice? We have a congregation out there now, a meeting out there. Go ahead.
So, I guess it would have been easier if I had made copies, but, basically, nothing changes call types for the most part. As you'll see when I pass it around, there were, few things that were a little bit different than normal. We did, last month, heavy robbery here in town, an armed robbery.
Ooh, did not know that.
It doesn't necessarily affect the public unless you're somebody out to buy drugs, but
However,
happen.
what is your policy on that, just while you're on that subject? Do you release that kind of information usually or
Executive
not?
session on the other side of that door.
It seems to me
Ask
like
them
an
to
armed
move on
robbery,
anyway.
people in town would wanna know about that. Now, I know you have your
Need to go, move 'em
needs
on.
of confidentiality and
Yeah,
all the rest of that stuff, but, I mean, if, once they.
to a business or a home, without doubt, we'd send out a press release for that.
Okay.
In this case here, I just highlighted it and, put it out there just because it did happen and it's something
Right.
that you don't normally see.
Right.
Um,
Well, if we go back to, for instance, the episodes that we had with all of the break-ins, I know that the townspeople were very happy to hear
Right.
about different ways to make break-ins less possible at their residence.
Correct.
Did
Now,
we ever
in this
have a,
particular case, of
Yeah,
did
course,
just
we ever
don't buy
have an
drugs.
Well, don't buy drugs.
ending to that, or?
but sometimes this spills over,
Yep.
yeah.
No, and which is also why there was no press release put out, because it is unsolved.
Still, yeah, okay.
Uh,
Under investigation or something? Ongoing,
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure it's.
Yes. We did have, which is a little bit of an uptick, but pretty normal, we did have 4 domestic disturbances that occurred in that time frame, and these are up to date as of yesterday, through yesterday. Of those, 2 arrests were made. 4 DUIs, that's something that's always been an issue here for some reason, and still continues. Illegal dumping, we're getting a lot more complaints of illegal dumping.
Let me think where. Indian
Well,
Point?
That's one place, but also
Good Lord.
scattered throughout town. I mean, people are just dumping stuff wherever they seem to wanna dump it. It hasn't been a lot, I mean, Indian Point was the worst by far, but
Yeah, they, I saw it going toward Brattleboro a couple times on this side. They used to dump it over the thing and down into the railroad tracks.
right. So that's,
No,
That's-
they still do it.
that's kind of an ongoing thing. I mean, seems to have picked up a little more, but I guess it's to be expected with the pay as you throw and all that stuff. We do have some leads. It's tough because although we might be able to identify somebody from the trash itself, there's actually no guarantee that they're the ones who put it there. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, sometimes it's somebody who, well, I gave it to such and such to dispose of for me, and
Yeah, but even
This is what they
still,
did.
it's theirs, got their name on it, I
Right.
think that they should be responsible, but that's,
So-
I'm not a police officer, so who am I?
other than that, a lot of animal problems. I did want to expand on that a little bit. During that time, we had 14, that's whether it be dogs barking or running at large or the such. I did reading through, I didn't get to come to the last meeting, and I apologize for that, but reading through, I see that we're looking at going down to 80 hours. One thing that I wanted to bring up to the board, I don't know what our contract might look like, or with who or what. The state police does not do animal control work. They also do not do parking enforcement and stuff like that. So you might want to start looking at talking with your constables, or selecting somebody from the town to be able to do that when we're not here, because I don't assume you'd wanna pay us a 4-hour call out to handle a barking dog complaint.
Well, you do know that, the sheriff has the right to go to town meeting and argue his case to go.
No, certainly.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there just to let you know, because that's something that could come up here in the
Yes,
future.
definitely. We used to have an animal control officer.
The other thing that kinda adds on to that, and I just heard about this through rumor mill basically, but towing.
Oh, yes.
Every agency in the state uses a rotational towing list. We can't do anything any different. We can't suggest, as law enforcement suggests, one company over the other.
But can the town? Because I feel that we should go locally and not.
The town, yes, the town can do as they choose.
Okay.
You could, contract with them for like doing snow towing or stuff like that, but on the side of the road, if somebody doesn't ask for a specific agency to tow them, we have to go by the list.
Okay, but it's the police that calls this whoever it is, right? No one else, right? Who's responsible for, that's what I guess what I want to say, because you can't keep giving it to this one particular person or that one particular person, it has to be a shared thing, otherwise we probably will go with naming somebody.
Well, whoever, well,
I mean, is it a police officer's job to call in the tow truck? That's what I guess what I'm asking.
sometimes, I mean, really anybody could do it. If we call, it has to be on the list. If, I don't know, the ambulance calls, it's whoever they, however they do it. I don't know. I don't know how mutual aid handles tows, so.
So that answers a question that we had is, can we force them, bad word, to use, a Vernon tow business? The answer is no. Can we do that with our own fire department? Absolutely, because they're a municipal fire department.
Right. The thing too is, we have to remember, there's language in the sheriff's department contract that talks about involvement in various things.
Oh, I don't wanna get involved in them.
Well, I'm just saying, there's language there already that
No,
we discussed last year.
I was talking about what he was talking about,
Okay,
like with.
that would preclude us from actually giving the sheriff's department any instruction at all.
If it's, yes, yeah, I agree with that.
Not insofar as that, the reality is, I mean, I prefer, in town to give to local people if possible. The
Well,
other
that's
issue.
not happening as well.
The other issue that you run into is you could find, if you do that, all of a sudden, they might start losing tows in Brattleboro,
Well, that's true.
or they may start losing in
As long as it's a
Guilford.
rotation, we're okay with that.
So, you gotta be careful. I would just caution against saying, it's gotta be this one, because then they could end up losing businesses elsewhere, because other towns are gonna start saying, well, you know what, if, our guys can't go down there and make tows, then you're not gonna be on our list anymore.
Yeah, okay.
So,
That's good information to know.
just try to think of that.
Yep.
For the most part, I mean, everybody, 99% of the time, unless they're from out of town or, well, really out of state or out of the area, almost everybody knows who they wants to come and tow them, so they just say, hey, we want such and such. If they ask for a certain tow company, barring, you know, they're in the middle of the road and there's traffic backing up, and, you know, if they're close by, we have to let them. And that includes everybody, they would have to, you can't overrule that unless there's an emergency reason to do so.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, that sounds right. This is
you know,
a
what
rotation.
it boils down to is back in the day, you just have people in tow trucks driving around listening to their scanner, trying to be the first one to get to a tow, and it just became too much of a mess.
Yes, I agree with that too, yep.
There's nobody in the state that I know of that I could find that does not use a rotation for wreckers, including the state police. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Okay,
Yeah, we used to in Vernon when we had
Yep.
3 tow companies in Vernon, but there's
Right.
not 3 anymore.
Yeah,
there's
you know,
only one,
my-
I think, in Vernon, correct? I don't know.
That I'm aware of,
But, I mean, they gotta be used too.
you know, we try to use some common sense. I mean, if somebody says, look, you know, I want my tow company to come out of, I don't know, Greenfield.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's gonna take too long. You know, I don't have a problem with my guy saying, look, you know, we've got one right in town. Would you like that one? Or, you know, do you wanna go with our on-call rotation? Most people want the closest one,
Yeah.
but,
Okay.
you know, we can't make a suggestion. We can just, you know,
Yep,
give them that information.
That sounds great.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, let's see. Other than that, as you look through the list, I mean, nothing's really out of the ordinary, other than, you know, traffic stops. The majority of calls generally are agency assist, whether that be the fire department or the ambulance, or, you know, we do fire alarms at the, or emergency alarms at like Vernon Green and Vernon Hall.
Yep.
Those are, sometimes they're listed as agency assist, sometimes they get put through as fire alarms, but for the most part, that's, that and directed patrols going to the schools are really the biggest, you know, biggest complaints we do. Bin inspections, quite a few suspicious events that we look into as well. But I'll pass it around, and for the most part, burglaries, there were 3 over that course of that time period. You know, I don't get alarmed because I know most places have many more, so, you know, we do pretty good in that respect. And there was 1 larceny from a vehicle. Somebody's license plates were stolen. Other than that, I'm sure you've seen the press release. We did recently make an arrest here in town after doing a search warrant at J&L. And once that heads to court, more information will come out from the court itself, of course. So. But that's pretty much it. You know, we work quite a few traffic crashes. Most of them are pretty simple. You know, somebody sliding off the road or something.
Can I ask a question?
Please, Eileen.
You've been really good at understanding about the call-outs, then covering it with your scheduling, so real charges. Do you have a way of tracking how many call-outs you would have been charged for if you didn't cover it? Not off the top of your head, is there a way you can get that for us?
Well, yes, I had started in July doing that. It was pretty unwieldy, to be honest with you. It has taken a lot of magic to make the hours fit. I talk with Lieutenant Anderson quite frequently, and we look over at the hours, and, you know, it's tough. But we've been, with the exception of, I think, last month, we've been over every month. And that's with flexing out time. I mean, there's been days that, you know, we'll have people go home 2 or 3 hours early, and it's still not enough to make up the hours, but.
But could you get us how many hours actually that would have been charged in call-out hours? Would that be an onerous job?
Sounds like
It would, I can try, I will look at our system and see what I can pull for it, but it was, as I said, basically what I have to do is I have to track each individual officer, see how many hours they worked in a day, and then try to reconcile that with how many were supposed to be worked for that, you know, time period, and then see, you know, what days they might have taken off, and it's.
It's just gonna be interesting to know, that because if we drop down to 80, we're gonna be paying for call-out hours. Because you're not gonna be able to flex as much as you are,
Right.
you know?
And, you know, what really started a problem for me trying to track this was court time. People going to court and preparing for court at the state's attorney's office and completing paperwork, and that made it very hard. I mean, we had 3 guys on a trial. They spent, I think, 10 or 12 hours each at this trial last month. And that's 30, you know, if it was 12 hours, 36 hours of burning time tied up in just one day at a trial, which had to be covered and down, plus what was covered down here, so I'm not gonna say it can't be done, but it was getting pretty onerous trying to do that, it really was.
Steve, you wanna say
Well,
something?
just a matter of a point of information here, I know that the document that we looked at that listed the prices and the hours, my recollection for the 80-hour thing was that we'd be calling, I thought, the state police, right?
Yeah, it was 80 hours, period.
The 80 hours was period.
Okay.
That was the option that I recall. Is that recalling that?
You're recalling it correctly, there are no call-out hours at that level.
That's what, at least that's the list from the sheriff's department, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
You were
You
welcome.
want your information back? Sandy?
Oh, yes, it's the only one he's got.
Oh, no, I've got more, you guys can keep it,
All
make
right.
copies, look it over.
I'll email it to him. You sent that to me electronically,
I did,
and it's possible that I missed it, so.
you probably did. Well, actually, this new one, I did not email this one today, the one you got was the
I'll
last
take
one.
all of them.
I'm going to, just so you know, I'm going to start doing this monthly, so you'll have monthly updates
All right, great.
instead of
Yep.
quarterly.
All right. that
Plus,
sounds
you can always look at our Facebook page and do it weekly, so.
Yes,
Okay.
I have looked at that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take
Thanks
care.
so much. Windham Regional Commission, recruitment of new representative. Tim Arsenal is currently our alternate and is willing to serve as our primary. No, we don't have a primary.
Oh, we don't have it.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Second.
There we go, quick.
I,
Aye.
All right.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right, motion was made and seconded to
Made by
appoint
Sandy.
Tim Arsenal as our primary representative to the Windham Regional Commission.
I do want to point out something.
And we have a discussion, we have a second,
Okay.
and we have a discussion.
Well, just to point out that the way Windham Regional looks at it, there is no primary and alternate. Each town has 2 members.
Okay.
And
So
you
we're
have,
a
if you
mem-
have 2
Tim
members.
will be a member.
Well, if you have 2 commissioners, then you've got twice the votes that 1 commissioner has.
All right, do you wanna be the other one?
No, I can't begin
Okay.
to do that, Chris. In fact, I've gotta have my hip fixed here soon, but the thing is that a lot of these towns have 2, therefore they have more weight voting on the commission than we do.
Where'd Jeff go? Oh, he's
Which
not
is
here, we could
unfortunate.
represent
he ran
him.
away.
I mean, we could appoint
Yeah,
him.
was that what it was?
He's not here.
He hit the deck running when I started mentioning 2. But no, if we could somehow manage to get another one, we'd actually have as much representation and voting power as the other communities that do have 2. Like, for instance, Brattleboro and
Sandy, you have nothing to do,
need
do
to
you?
go along. Yeah, Sandy's free. She's got a lot of time. No, that's the case anyway.
Josh?
No, thanks.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to make Tim Arsenal our new representative to the Windham Regional Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. All right, let's go with the minutes quickly.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
on December 5th
Yep.
meeting, Chris's name needs to be corrected. On the first regular select board meeting item, and then on the second
How
page.
bad is it?
She's left out the.
Yeah, I'm not Christian.
On the second page, on the accounts payable, it was noted that 11T was so high due to VLCT payment, but the way it reads is, it almost looks like VLCT was charging us $77,000. And that could just be clarified, that was just one of the reasons it was higher. So I'd like to, motion to accept those with those corrections.
Isn't there an email, somebody else, I did something else out?
I didn't get that email. I use that as an excuse quite often.
Janet.
Thank you, Tim, by the way.
By the
And
way, I-
welcome.
Oh, it wasn't on the minutes, okay.
That was at the end.
No, it was a
You have
suggestion
something.
and information, but it wasn't.
On the minutes?
Yes,
Okay, just a minute. On the same minutes?
on the 5th minutes.
All right. Go ahead.
Madam Chairman, page 2 of the minutes, where it says State Attorney under the Town Administrator's Report, should be Secretary of State.
Okay. Okay, so still motions on the table for, to accept, go ahead.
Just one other thing, I noticed the pagination for the budget session is fine, but the pagination for the regular meeting probably could be adjusted somewhat.
Like, how would you suggest it?
Well, page 1 of 3, page 2
Oh,
of
yeah, page one.
3,
You
and
know,
page 3 of
that's,
3.
that's me, and sometimes it'll do that, and I can't
I know,
get
I
it
see
to
page
not
No,
2
I
of
don't
2.
know.
do it.
I don't know where,
It's
or
an
is this
automatic
Word or
thing.
what is this? But it came out fine on the
Change it.
budget.
Sometimes it just does it, then.
All right, so motion's been made and seconded to,
I did have another one.
Okay, go.
It's from Janet Rasmussen.
oh, yes.
Yeah, see, now you know what I'm talking about. And it has to do on the very
I was
last
thrilled when
paragraph.
I got it.
The very last paragraph on page 2 of 2. She said North Star hasn't purchased the Vernon Dam, and it's not, it should only be DAM, not DAM.
Oh, damn. That damned tax.
So Janet reported, North Star hasn't purchased the Vernon Dam. ArcLight bought it as part of the package from TransCanada. And then I think she just gives recommendations, but that was a correction. Or clarification. We may have said all that, but it wasn't
No, I think I
accurate.
did it.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes of December 5th as corrected. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Let's go with December 6th. I didn't have anything. We okay with that one? As written?
Make a motion to accept the minutes from December 6th budget meeting as written.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Um, Any opposed? We have one abstention, and the rest are ayes. Bills and warrants. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, yes.
I don't have one.
I do. It's here
There it is.
somewhere.
Yep.
I think mine's at the last page, yes. Okay. Madam Chair, I move that the select board approve and authorize payment for the following bills and warrants. Warrant 12-T, accounts payable in the amount of $67,665.48. Payroll 49S in the amount of $8,647.03. And payroll 50S in the amount of $8,722.89.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to approve and pay warrant, the following warrants: 12T, accounts payable $67,665.48. 49S payroll 49S payroll $8,647.03. 50S payroll $8,722.89. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Radiological emergency response planning.
I was able to meet up with you, Chris, to get that signed, but this is an FYI, the board had already voted to put in for the $15,000 for the emergency management money through the state, and we did receive that, so it's just a matter of signing the contract, promising to do everything that we told them we would do in that.
Yep.
And the grant.
So I need a motion to have me sign it, which you already kind of gave that permission, because I signed it already.
So moved.
All right, that's to ratify my signature.
Ratify.
So second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Participation in the town emergency planning pilot with WRC.
Emergency or
Energy.
energy?
What did I say?
Emergency.
Should have written.
It's energy.
Energy. Sorry about that, I said I would get punchy soon enough.
Blame it on it. So the Windham Regional Commission sent out a solicitation to towns as an invitation to apply for essentially free help to come up with an energy element in your town plan. And for the town of Vernon, this was very timely because we just got the municipal planning grant to open up the town plan again to look at ways to develop the Vermont Yankee site. And in the last plan, that was the plan, that's what the town decided to do, is sort of put off making those plans until we knew what Vermont Yankee was going to do. And so with this isn't actual funding, this is just them giving time to put into the town plan elements that will be, will fall under Act 174, which would give us deferential treatment in the event that an energy project wanted to site here. It would already be approved and in the town plan after it's reviewed by either the Windham Regional Commission or the Public Service Board, depending on the timing of when it's done.
Yeah, but this is for our town planning committee. Shouldn't they be?
They already did.
Okay.
I went to them last Wednesday and they agreed that this would be a great idea. Part of this process is to make sure that the select board and the planning commission are in agreement and agree to work on doing something like this together.
Okay.
So part of it is they've already given their okay, made the motion that yes, this is a great idea. And now they've sent me your way to ask for the same permission and to get Madam Chairwoman to sign a letter of interest, which would be essentially the application for this.
You guys are just gonna have me sign my life away before March, aren't you?
Exactly,
So
yes.
I'm gonna go out owing the town my life.
No, you'll be responsible for.
So
good
second.
things that happen.
Yeah, all right, motion's been made and seconded to have the chair sign the energy planning pilot. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
It's already written.
The ayes have it.
When I saw the major thing, I was like, oh.
Okay, thanks, Tim. All right, the next one up is a personnel from the treasurer. Can we take that at the end, please?
Yes.
Thank you, we're gonna move that to the end. Black Gum Swamp, come on up, Seth, please. We're not running too late, but we are running late.
I'm gonna talk fast.
Yes,
I actually just wanted to have I guess kind of a follow-up discussion to some, I guess a decision that's probably already been made, but may not be 100% set in stone at this point.
right.
That we have looked at reclassifying the black gum swamps from class 2 to class 1 in the town forest. And I think on the surface, it probably sounds like a good idea. I think
It
I think there's a couple things that maybe we just warrant a little bit more discussion at this point. And I wanna make sure that I am very clear that I am all for protecting this area. It's obviously something that is vital to the town. It's been, significantly important to all of us for a long time. So, that is absolutely a priority. The reason I'm here is I also serve on the Trails and River Committee that we established through the Rural Development Project. And part of that is going to be updating some of the trails in the town forest area, and just different signage and whatnot. And so I let my rec board know that I was a part of that, and that's what we're kind of doing, just updating them. And so better make sure that's taken care of quick, because once this becomes class 1, changing anything is really not possible. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
What? It's our land. Why can't we
Yeah.
change it? And so I think that there's a couple things that one, the class 2 wetlands as they exist now have a 50-foot buffer zone from their 7 black gum swamp areas. Bringing it to a class 1 makes a 300-foot buffer zone, which actually takes up a good chunk of the town forest. And also inside that buffer zone, we are not permitted to adjust any trail that may need to be adjusted at any point. We would not be, it's not permitted. And not only is it not permitted, but we could be held liable should something take place inside this buffer zone. The state does say that they will, make an effort to determine who potentially made any changes or damage to this area, and hold them accountable. Should they not be able to determine who did it, the landowner, us, would be on the hook for the cost of repairing or fixing. And truthfully, we do not have a great deal of concerns or challenges with that happening currently. My thought, and again, this is probably something that I probably should have voiced sooner, I guess I didn't realize until this last meeting, the extent of the change of what it actually mean, was that I don't see that we gain a great deal for this classification. I see that it shows the possibility that we may not have control over some of the land that's been important to us. We could lose some of that when it's already protected now, and I see we could lose some of the control over that. And there could be a financial challenge that comes with this, potentially, should some type of damage take place. So I guess those are just some things that kind of came into my head, and I wanted to have a discussion with the board. We are, like I said, updating some of these trails, and there may be some need, because of some of the logging taking place in the past, to kind of move some of these trails. And I don't see that taking place before, I think January 12th is the finalized vote for this change to be impacted. I don't see us making any progress on those trails before January 12th. So, I mean, I don't know, I wanted to have that discussion with those points on the table.
Have you looked into if we can reverse what we've done?
There's a comment period, I believe, one more comment period where we could testify before the vote.
There's a testimony, so if we get on the list,
Yeah.
ahead of time, like now, we can go testify, I believe it's January 11th.
Okay,
And that's our last shot.
yeah. And I would venture to guess if there was some literature that we sent that way ahead of time,
Sure.
that it would not be a shock, and it would, they could understand at least where we're coming from. And I am not, please don't misinterpret this as me saying, hey, we don't need to protect this area. I am all for protecting it, I'm afraid that we might lose a little bit of our
I don't take that
ability
as
to
that
utilize
anyway.
it.
But I agree, I think go ahead.
Could we not extend the protective area ourselves?
I mean, I think that the
No, I
concern.
mean, with class 2, could we not
Mhm.
extend it ourselves?
I mean, I potentially. I mean, I think that the main concern, there was some logging that took place inside the buffer zone when the town forest was cut, and what would now be, I mean, the logging was right up to the swamp in some spots. So I think that that's probably potentially what triggered some of this. I would still like to see us, yes, have some type of, maybe something that regulates that, so that couldn't take place again, yeah. I don't know what shape or form that
I
shows
wasn't on the
itself.
board then, but that would have never happened.
I guess the biggest thing, because I'm the one that brought this to Seth's attention at the rec board meeting of the decision that was made by the board, and as we dug into it further, And we looked at the potential liability financially for the town, because it's not something that was made clear to us, in my opinion.
No, what, I
When the
didn't.
state was here, that it would be our liability if
Oh, they did, I don't remember
John
that.
Jones goes in and cuts down 6 or 7 trees within the barrier, they can't find John Jones, now the town's on the hook to pay for everything to replace it. That was not made clear by the state of Vermont. We were led down a very wrong path. I hope somebody from the state watches this. And I'm fairly upset about the way that they pursued this with us without letting us know the liabilities that we have as a town financially. That being said, I'm all for, protecting the land as well. I think, for the most part, everybody's fairly respectful of the town forest.
I think so.
So it is definitely something that I would like to see us write a letter to the state and say, hey, guys, thanks for nothing. And this is where you've got us, so,
See you in court.
yeah, basically, kind of thing, and that it be signed by the entire select board if, we agree to go that way, and say, hey, we're happy with our class 2, and no thanks to the extra liability to our residents in our town.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yes,
You're chomping at the bit.
well, I remember distinctly the discussion with the state person early on, that the town would have some liability if someone went in with an ATV or something and tore up the trails. Now, this other kind of liability you're talking about, going in and cutting trees, I didn't hear about that part.
No,
How
it's
do
just
you
changing.
replace a 500-year-old tree anyway?
You get fined.
It's a fine.
It's a fine.
So it's not, it doesn't matter whether it's ATV damage or someone cuts a tree down. And please correct me if I'm wrong, if anything changes within that 300-foot buffer of the swamp,
Yeah.
we're
We're
we
liable.
could be
We could be.
liable for it.
Yep.
So whether it's damage or it's, trash is disposed of, whatever it is, if the area is changed, which could even mean if new trails are cut, or if they're moved, or if they're.
We
We
can't
cannot
do-
do that.
yeah,
That
can't
is
do
a
that.
That's what
violation.
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, if somebody outside of Seth, who, maintains the trails, if somebody else goes, well, I think it's stupid that the trail goes this way, I want it to go this way, and they cut it, so anything, if within that 300-foot buffer zone, if anything changes, whether it's damage or tree cuts or trash, or someone moves a trail, or
You get fined.
whatever,
Yeah.
if they can't find, if the state, with their reasonable, attempt to find who's responsible for it, if they can't find that person, it becomes our responsibility, whether it's replacing, fixing, or just a fine.
And
If
for
I
a
might
fine.
ask too,
If
what
you wanna
are
speak,
these,
come stand there and I'll
what
get
are
to you in a
these
minute.
trails actually used for that you're maintaining now?
They need an update is what they actually.
No, I
they
don't wanna
need.
know about
Yeah.
update. What is actually happening on these trails? Are these snowmobile trails?
No.
These are.
Are they ATV trails?
No.
Well, so what are they being
They're
used
they're
for?
hiking and walking trails through the Black Gum
So
Swamp
we
area,
don't have
so-
any motorized vehicles in that.
No, but if
forest.
somebody goes up there without permission
Right.
and does any damage or anything, we could get fined and we are under the liability thing, which was not explained to
And
us
if,
that
and
well.
if we keep this as a class 2 and it's under our purview, then what steps would we take if that occurs now?
Well, it wouldn't be, the
We just say,
damage,
oh geez, sorry, that's too bad.
no. We
they
wouldn't
cut
get
down a
fined for,
500-year-old tree.
no, no. We wouldn't get fined by the state for the impact. However, I don't believe with that anybody's ever been up there with a chainsaw. What he's talking about was when, back in 2009, the select board at that time authorized a forester to go up there and clear cut the town forest. And they went like, vroom, lickety split right through the damn
They clear-cut the town
place.
forest?
They did a very significant.
Yes, big
cut in
time,
the town
bad.
forest, yeah.
All right,
And
wait a
that's
minute,
what they're talking.
A clear cut?
A clear cut, pretty much.
And, I mean, probably everybody has a different description of that, but I would think that would be
Are
a
you-
safe term to use.
Are you,
Don't you think it was? I
a
do.
forester said this is a clear cut? You're not a forester.
He would say
That's not what-
selective, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not, he would say selective
That's
cutting.
not what he said.
He would
but
say
That's
selective.
what
cutting.
happened.
Now, remember that there's a terminology here we need to be careful about. Clear cutting has very specific forestry terminology term, which signifies essentially got nothing standing after they leave.
Yeah, well then, okay, it was clear cut.
Yeah,
Let me
it's
go to
probably-
him, go ahead, let him sit down. Let's
yeah,
allow,
Seth, if
Yeah.
you went to the 300-foot boundary line,
Mhm.
would that affect not just the trails for hiking and stuff, would that also interfere with the snowmobile trails that go through there?
Truthfully, I don't know that I've walked the snowmobile trail. My understanding is that the trails that currently exist, as they exist now, you are able to leave those. You are not able to adjust
Right.
them in any way, shape, or form. So as a snowmobile trail does evolve from year to year, time to time, that would not be an option. We would not, the trail would have to be maintained in the current state it is now.
And that's the big thing is maintain. You
Right.
can maintain everything you have now.
Now.
Even if it's in the boundary line, you can maintain what you have.
Right.
But you cannot
Cannot-
cut anything new.
right.
Right.
can't
So,
make it
and
better.
part of what Seth and his committee is doing with the Trails Committee, Russ Rosinski's your president, right?
Yep, he's the chair.
Okay, he's the chair of that board, is to try to find ways to bring, I guess tourism is a bad word because we're Vernon, but people that want to come see these black gums and all their fantasticness. I've honestly never been up there and I probably should. But allow easy access to them to hopefully bring people into town, which will hopefully feed a cafe, which will hopefully do this and do that and
Right.
all this
All of our
rural
tax
development
problems will
stuff.
go away.
Yeah.
So,
We have a few
that's the
We're
idea,
getting
and by
stuff
doing
eventually.
this, not only do we limit that, but we also open ourselves up to a whole bunch of liability that I don't think all of us were made aware of right from the get.
Right, because if you
I'll
go to
take
the.
you up there in the spring.
If I'm taking it right, if you went to the class 1, you're gonna have really no control over that area.
We would, yes, essentially.
Right.
It's a class 2 right now, we are able to move and adjust things where it's a permit
Right.
process. But yeah, a class 1, essentially the land,
It's locked.
It's essentially locked. And fair to say, I mean, we're not looking to dramatically change any type of landscapes. When I first heard, wait a minute, we can't use this, we don't get to make decisions anymore on land that we own. I was like, well, I think I just want to look at this a little bit further. So that's kind of where I'm
Well,
looking at it.
Madam
now
Chair,
I-
if I might interject.
thank
My
you.
question was
here.
about the 300-foot mark, because I would assume by putting it out further, you're gonna end up losing trails because of that.
As they currently exist, they can stay, but yes,
Right.
if you needed to adjust it or move it, you could not do
Right.
that, correct.
Okay.
And I do think that from my perspective, we're looking to increase usage and access. And I don't know that making it a class 1 increases that use or access, it almost seems like it may limit it more. It may be if I know that I'm responsible for maintaining something that could potentially cost us something, we don't probably want as many people through there that could potentially cost us something.
Yeah, let's see.
The other consideration is the trees, and in fact, more access doesn't mean that the trees are going to fare better. In fact, they may in fact be impacted negatively. That's the whole purpose in creating a class 1, is to try to limit the amount of things that go on nearby these trees. These things are, I'm told, I didn't do any
300-400
cores,
years old.
400 or 500. They were
Yeah.
here before this area was settled by white people. And the only reason they've survived is because they're so remote that loggers couldn't get in to cut them down. But, you know, today, I mean, loggers can get in anywhere they want to. And my fear is that if the town is just responsible for this area and is allowed to kind of change things as they wish to, the rec department and so forth, that we will end up with a loss of that environment.
Just
That's
as a
my
side note,
concern.
it doesn't have anything to do with rec department.
Yeah, this is town property.
We can't,
Well, I'm saying that the rec department's the one that's maintaining the trails.
No.
the current trails.
Well, how does the rec department get
Oh,
involved
I
in the
thought
trail
that was a
system
separate
then?
function.
Well, yes, the town forest trail system, I think, falls under the jurisdiction of the recreation department.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah,
that
the
they-
Rivers and
that
Trails,
was set.
the Rivers and Trails Committee is a trails committee that was established through the Vermont Community Rural Development.
I was there when
and,
that happened, yes. I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
But my understanding is that you guys were up there doing trails maintenance.
Yeah, the recreation department is responsible for that. The scope of what we're talking about, the rivers and trails, is a larger, it's not just this one area. That's
Yes.
just how it became forefront. We're looking at other trails behind the rec department as well, looking at getting some river access. So it's a bigger project that this area is under the recreation department, but we're encompassing it inside of a bigger project. As I am on the rec department and the trails committee, it kind of made sense to do kind of a joint effort here. I guess, and I'm literally, for discussion purposes, right now, the 50-foot buffer in the swamps, we can't mess with those, we can't.
State stuff anyway,
Yeah, that's protected inside that.
Right.
This just makes it bigger and then limits us to
Right.
certain other aspects. That was my only discussion,
Well,
that's all.
the 50, just to put things in
Yeah, yeah.
perspective, I think that wall over there is about 50, the wall that's out in the other room is about 50 feet.
Mhm.
And certainly my understanding is some of these trees are well taller than 50 feet.
Sure.
And so what you're saying is you not even have the height of a tree buffer around the area that these things are growing in, is what you would care to maintain. And that's fine, if that's the will of the town, fine. I'm just pointing out the fact that just because you wanna maintain trails and do all kinds of stuff in there, doesn't mean it's gonna benefit the trees. The reason those trees survived as long as they have is because they were left alone.
Right, and we won't be
That's all,
changing.
I'm not gonna say any more about it.
No, he's not
trying to
trying
have a
to change
discussion.
anything. And he's not asking us to go in there and allow people to chop the trees. He just wants to make that buffer zone, stay the same and not go out 350 feet or whatever, correct?
Yeah, I just didn't see that it was something that was broken, and that's all, it's
Yeah.
been maintained in this current format for
I
quite a
agree.
long time.
It wasn't broken.
And I just, that was my only point, I guess, was I
Yep.
felt like it was something
No,
that we kind
I
of
think it's
enjoyed
something
in
that
its
we need
current
to.
process.
Yeah, I think it is something that we need to, think about.
And there's no guarantee that if we do approach the state and say, hey, these are our concerns, at this point, I think that it's far long past the process where they don't have to listen to us at this point, I believe. I could be misspeaking on that, but
I
don't
So
know.
they just have to listen, they have to listen.
Well, they may have to
One more
listen,
time.
but they may not have to say, okay, this is what they want to
Yeah.
do.
Can we,
I don't know.
do we have any, we voted on whether or not to approve it, can we undo that? Or can we vote again to say that?
I rescind that motion.
Exactly.
Yeah, can we do that?
I can go testify that you've done that. I think that would be my
Absolutely.
recommendation
Yeah,
at this point
okay.
is.
Are you
make a
making
motion.
If I get the okay,
Yes.
then I'll go up there
Yes,
personally.
I'll
and-
make the motion to undo the vote to approve the reclassification of the Black Gum Swamp.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded to rescind the motion. Say it again. Did you get it anyway?
So the motion of the classification.
Classification of the,
We're no longer approving that vote.
Yeah.
We're
gonna rescind it.
We're yeah, we're revoking it.
Testify?
Yes.
and have Michelle testify. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
Four? I'm gonna poll the board.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
No.
no. All right, 4 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you very much, Seth, you've done a lot of work, appreciate it. All right, do you wanna go right on to the fire department personnel? All right. Yep, okay. Come on up.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
I move that we go into executive session with Mrs. Kowski
And her son Matt,
and her son.
Faith Jobin.
and Faith Jobin, and Todd,
Yeah.
and Todd's okay to be in?
We would like to request if we could have a few minutes before Todd joins us to speak to the board. We did request, Todd, that you were to join us. We're here today to address the board with some concerns regarding the fire department, and we also came prepared with some suggestions for some changes. So we respect the fact that you guys are going to join us in a few minutes. We just asked to have a few minutes with the board first. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be, the chief, okay? All right. Yep. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded to go into executive session, with Matt and Leanne and, Faith, under a personnel matter, and, with Michelle, of course, too. And, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, ayes have it, no nays.
Is it okay if I request to ask Faith to join us at the table?
Oh, yeah,
Because I
she
want
can.
her
We're
to-
not in yet, like, they gotta,
We're not,
he's
we,
gotta turn the
yeah,
camera
we're not
off.
quite in
Okay,
yet,
so.
so she's
you.
gotta clear up, he's gotta shut down, so just grab a chair, Faith, and
He's
come on up.
shutting down, 'cause I didn't.
Okay, we met in executive session on a personnel matter with the fire department. We went into executive session probably very early.
8.
8? Okay, and came out at 10:15. Good Lord. And no action was taken. All right, moving on. Auditor's note,
Personal also.
can we just postpone that?
Yep,
Okay, thank you. To January 3rd?
well then, is the auditors coming on January 3rd? We keep pushing them back.
Okay,
It's up to you, I'll do whatever you want.
well, I think that if we read what's in our packet, and then we will be at least prepared when he comes on January 3rd.
So on January 3rd, it will be final.
Yep.
When he comes, it'll be finalized.
Yep.
Okay, so
Okay.
if you, please read it.
I've already
If you
asked
have any
questions.
major issues on it, just email me.
Oh, okay, good. 'cause
They
I
were
got-
supposed to do that a month ago. If they didn't ask the questions, then they don't get to ask anymore.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
So you have questions?
Okay, so, 3rd. Budget. I don't know why buildings and grounds are on there, but I think it's because you're going to tell me that you got some more figures.
Yes, because when you had made your decision, I didn't have figures.
Where am I?
Now I do, and they were pretty close.
Well, we had estimates.
The ones.
Yeah, we had estimates.
Now,
We didn't have quotes, we had estimates.
Okay.
well, not really, because they didn't know what building we were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So now they know the building.
Okay.
And they were pretty close, it went up a little bit, so I added a little more. I forgot to put shoveling,
Right.
space
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
shoveling
yeah,
in.
where the heck is it?
It's in here somewhere.
First grade one. That
Page
right
10,
there. Yep.
I know.
Oh, okay.
So I upped the cleaning a little bit to include floor stripping, which everybody suggested we would need, probably once every couple of years.
Okay.
And a rug cleaning, but it's about $6,000 to do the cleaning for the whole year. So that's in there, in addition to, and that's pretty much all I did with the building and grounds.
Okay.
What's the income?
I don't know, and I was gonna ask Cindy about that today, but it was a really busy day.
Yeah.
It's been a really busy day.
People buy light bulbs.
I was wondering the same.
Cause I remember Kevin saying he's
He's
got like a
got
whole
boxes of-
warehouse of
I
light
want
bulbs, so I
some of
wonder who
those.
sold them.
Huh?
You want it.
Huh?
I'll tell you where he had it, he didn't order those.
No, I
he
know
said
he
he
didn't.
inherited them.
No,
There
we didn't hear it.
that's in the proposed budget, so I thought it was.
Okay, so that's the only change,
And in the building and grounds, yes.
okay? Anywhere else?
The other changes that I did is I added the estimated, as per the board's request, the dumpsters and service and tipping fees for.
Yeah, but why can't we take them out of there,
disposal.
because you can't really tell us, right?
Yes, unfortunately, I mean, we can give you an estimate of what it is every month for each department, but when we get the bill, it's
It's
one
not broken out.
big, and we can't get him to do it, so.
Oh,
No,
You can't break it down.
I've talked to him a number of times, it just doesn't seem to work, but.
I say we
Um,
just take it out of here and we put it in with the whole big yeah,
I don't like that idea.
yeah, that one.
See, the problem is that he'll probably have to send a whole other truck down just to do our stuff, because it gets weighed. The weight, so there's no way to separate out the weight from everything else.
So you'd have to send an individual truck for each
So
dumpster.
it's going to cost us more money. Cause he
So,
actually have to send that.
can we just take it out and just put it all in one bill?
Whatever the board's pleasure,
And that's coming out of the solid waste fund, am I correct? Or no?
yes.
Right now it is.
I know, but aren't we gonna have we're gonna ask the townspeople in an article to have a fund of its own. So it's gonna come out of that. I say we just take it out of these, the rec, the fire department, the blah blah and all that.
And just pay
And
for
just
it
pay
on
it
the
right out
select
of the
board.
thing, yep,
All right.
yep,
So pay as you throw will have its own fund next year, that's coming out,
right, yep. Okay, so do that.
okay.
Anything else?
No, those were the only,
Everybody okay with that?
So-
Emily, you didn't look like you were okay with that.
I just, I don't
If they
wanna,
can't do it.
I know, I don't wanna spend more by having a second truck come out, but I don't want it to be part of pay-as-you-throw, it's not supposed to
not.
be.
no, pay as
No,
you
no,
throw
no.
is coming out.
But how do we know how much the town is gonna pay for these dumpsters if it's,
You can't, we're not gonna know.
that's the problem.
That's right, it is a problem.
And so, like, I don't understand.
You're putting the estimated fee on a different line item, is,
It's gonna go in a
Yeah.
fund.
So
Yep.
we're just gonna, we're purely just going to estimate, I mean, I would assume an estimate is coming from Triple T.
Well, we took yes, the estimated number was, it'll be a total of $60,000 with the Windham Solid Waste Fund, so it was like 35,000
Yeah,
for just the town.
Wyndham Solid Waste is a separate
And
article.
recyclables.
Right.
There was recyclables in there too.
Wyndham Solid Waste Assessment is a
Right.
separate
Yeah,
article.
yeah, no.
This-
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I'm thinking about the dumpsters and how, if they're billing it as part of pay-as-you-throw.
No,
Oh,
no, no, no,
those
no.
are easy enough to take out, but it's the, when they empty the dumpsters,
So it's the
the
tipping
the
fee.
tipping fee, that's
It's
the
the
So
part
individual
where
we're,
it's
so we
allowed.
know what the rental is.
Yes,
But we don't know the tipping fee portion.
right.
Right.
So are we going to make like, almost like a pilot type, are we just gonna, as tax, like raising by taxes, so it's not part of pay-as-you-throw, are we just going to make payments
To the.
One solid
to
pay-
the pay-as-you-throw to
That's what
cover?
you're saying.
Yeah, that's kinda what I'm thinking, because it can't be part of pay-as-you-throw, but if we can't break out the tipping, because it'll cost us more to do that, I don't wanna do that, I don't want it to cost
Right.
more. But then, I think we need to, make like,
A
payments,
donation. To
whatever, that will
pay-as-you-throw.
cover the cost of the expenses of the municipal, of the dumpsters and everything. So that pay-as-you-throw is truly just pay-as-you-throw, we just don't have the exact number because the tipping fee can't be broken out. Does that make sense?
and besides that, it can't be estimated either. I mean, if we do a project here, if we do a light project, that means our dumpster's full 3 times more than what it normally is in the summer. So it's gonna change the amount of the tipping fee for that particular year.
Right, but if we make a donation, if you will, or,
Yeah.
an estimated
It's gonna
cost
have
of
to
what.
be an estimate.
Yeah, well, I'm okay with it being an estimate, but I wanna make sure that that's offsetting pay-as-you-throw. If it's being billed as pay-as-you-throw, because it's cheaper for Triple T to service us that way, then I wanna make sure that we are paying for it, even if it's just an estimate, but that the town is paying for the municipal services, so that
Agreed.
pay-as-you-throw is not covering.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And this, but we're just gonna put
But
that
we're
in
gonna
the
take it-
solid waste
yeah.
fund and take it out of there
Right.
to go to, so it's not anything that has to be in
yeah,
there.
or
Yeah.
the separate
I
fund,
can
whatever it is.
figure out that number based, I'll just have Triple T give me a number.
And
Yeah.
can you let the recycling committee know that?
Oh, yes.
Just so that, because I'm sure they're expecting to see the line item for garbage, so can you kind of explain that
We're
to
gonna
let them
take it
know
out.
that we are paying for it, but we can't break it out exactly.
I've tried to explain it a couple of times, but.
Yeah, they have a hard time understanding it.
I just did, and I was on the recycling, maybe you have to be on the recycling committee to not understand it.
But pay-as-you-throw is definitely, it's gonna be totally transparent,
Right,
all
yes.
separate.
Okay, now library,
Well, Madam Chair, the library's separate from this, right?
oh, yes.
So then I move that we accept this with
With the
changes as our final budget.
Okay,
Second,
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays. Ayes have it. Okay, now library.
We didn't talk about the MERF when we were.
Oh, we're not there yet.
Okay,
We'll get there.
we did an I, or we did two, but we didn't do one.
Well,
Library.
Sorry.
we agreed to take that out of here, so that's what I needed to know for this packet.
Okay.
All right, now library. You wanna leave it as it is? You wanna deduct and have the, or have the, leave it as is and have the town deduct, if they want.
My preference would be to take it out and let the town add it back in if they so desire.
You wanna take the entire library out and let the town?
Well,
add
not
back in?
the entire
What are you
library.
taking out?
No, it was 99, it was
Yeah,
down
I
to
think we're-
99,000 something, wasn't it? What was it?
And now they're 109.
Well, this number right here, but just because she can't be here, so she told me what this is. This number is the 6% reduction from their last year's budget.
I know, but
So you
they've
had
given
one in-
themselves a 2.5% raise here.
Above-
No, this is, for the 53 weeks, that's why it went to 5% originally before she put the.
I know, but she said that they gave themselves, or their board gave them a 2.5% pay increase.
This
And
year?
we're not giving,
This fiscal year.
yeah, and
Because
we're not
they got
giving our
the-
people
They
that.
got the $9,000 or whatever it was from the
Yeah.
messed up vote
Bring up the
at
vote.
town meeting. And the trustees utilized that to give an additional pay increase above and beyond the one that was already agreed upon. So basically, as a select board, we decided to give a 2.5% pay increase to all of our town employees.
That was last
This
year.
last budget year. The library in turn agreed to a 2.5% pay increase because we don't have any control over where their money goes as a select board. When they received this additional money through the town meeting mess up, the trustees decided to not use that for programs, but to give the additional, an additional 2.5% pay increase to the librarians, making it a 5% pay increase, which is what the librarians were hoping for to begin with, prior to us, deciding a 2.5 for the town, and they agreed for the 2.5 as well, as they should. But all that got changed when they got the windfall of.
I know, but this right here includes a 2.5% starting effective July 1st, 2017
Again.
as well, yes,
This year.
yeah, or the.
What?
I absolutely heard Chris say that.
I don't remember her saying that.
I don't think that. That's the case.
Where's the,
Um,
do you have the comparison thing that you did for the libraries, then we can see.
We do, yes, we do.
I think I got it on my phone here as well.
This thing, not this.
Right on the bottom page up here, bottom number.
Okay, so this is this budget year,
Yep.
was the 66,866.
Yep.
So is there an increase in their new budget for the 66?
Yes, there
Yeah.
is.
Remember, this is an extra week
Okay,
All right,
in
so
this one. So
Oh, okay,
so that is,
I don't think there's
All right.
an extra.
I thought she said that they were asking for 2.5%. But I could be wrong. And I hope I am. Cause that has bothered me.
I think last year. Oh, it doesn't help because they cut a position, because last year it's 74, right? For wages, so it's, I can't compare.
Well, that's
So-
right, they did cut a position, and I do think that is a raise.
you're right, yep, they did cut a
I don't
part-time
know,
position.
saying she wanted, that they were getting a raise this year.
2.5% is what she said. But, like I said, that's up to you guys, I'm,
Well, where's the comparison thing?
here.
I got it right here.
it's the bottom one.
Yeah, you had asked me to add total budgets on to here.
Yeah, if
Yeah, but
we,
last year's was 74,000
Of wages.
of wages.
But that's a that's a total budget, is wages on there, sorry.
Yeah, wages is separated.
Yeah, but they only have 66,866.
That's
Because they
my
cut a
shelter
position.
on there.
That's because they cut a position last year.
No, they cut.
No, they cut it, but this year, starting July 1st.
So where did we come to the 66?
The 66 was the last number I had when I did this before they added the 53rd.
Oh, okay, so this is.
Okay.
So this is.
Oh, so this
Okay,
is,
so
This is
that's-
without the
this is not-
53 weeks.
So that would be 72 and some change.
Yeah.
No, this
No.
one for our library would be the 68,151.
Okay, so wait a minute. This 66,000 is actually a budget that starts July 1st of 2017, am I correct?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
what I
so
got from
this is
the
last
original
year's amount.
proposed.
Okay, so this is this year's proposed.
Because there was 74,000 last year.
Okay.
Come on,
And
we have
that-
a, we
And
have
that
a,
shows the decrease because of the part-time employee not being here anymore. Okay. Well,
I hate this thing with all that junk in front there.
yeah.
But
Here's my frustration with the library, which everybody knows what my frustration is with the library. As we look down through here with comparison towns, and I've said it about every single department that we've gone over this budget season, is when we compare it to our neighbors, we are so far off of what other towns do, and it's because we haven't had to penny pinch in the past. Just looking at this comparison, at $68,000 in salary, that is higher. Just their salaries alone is higher than the highest comparisons budget, or is equal to, I should say. Because we look at Guilford, their entire budget is $30,000. So we pay our librarians twice as much as Guilford's entire budget. You look at Dummerston's, $12,000, 6 times what we pay for 5.5. And then we look at Westford, who has the largest budget out of anybody other than us, and their entire budget is 69.9, where our salaries alone are 68,151. Now, these comparable libraries are not open any less hours than we are. They utilize volunteers much more than we do. And we've heard the library trustees and we've heard the librarians say how well attended and utilized our library is. And that's all well and good. So those people that attend and utilize the library, I'm not one of those, but the people that do, if they want to continue to have a library going on into the future, need to step up and volunteer like these other towns do, and not put the entire tax burden of our library on the town of Vernon. No other town does it. We are for us to have a $115,000 budget when comparable towns have $30,000 to $12,000 budgets blows my mind.
I agree.
any suggestion?
You want me to suggest a budget? I suggest that we budget the library $65,000 for this upcoming year. And that keeps us on the higher end of everybody else. And if the library is utilized as much as everybody says it is, I'm sure we'll have volunteers to fill in the gaps.
Well, you know what, I agree that we cut it, that's kind of like a big cut.
Yeah, we've
You
done
want-
several big cuts this year.
Yeah, we
We've
have.
done
Yeah.
big cuts to
Was that a
employees
motion?
and, yes, I make a motion
I
that we.
second it.
Any more discussion?
Well, I don't think the other ones probably pay insurances. Right there, that's 11,000 repairs. You know,
Yeah, because the majority of their people are part-time,
right.
so they don't pay benefits.
Or volunteer?
Of course, they're volunteers and they have a few paid people. I mean, that's how the other half lives, so to speak, and that's how they've lived for a long time. And we have to start living that way.
65,000.
I have to wrap my head around that.
I think that's a big jump, but I don't mind cutting it, but that's just like a big slap, but, you
Well,
know, it's up to you
it's
guys, I
not-
mean, I'm
In my
gonna,
opinion, it's not, it is in fact, trying
It's
to bring
reasonable.
the budget into line with what other people are doing and what I think we can perhaps do if we really try. You know what I'm saying? I personally believe that. I think that that we can pull together, there are people out there that will volunteer if they know the library, you know, is not gonna be open as much if they don't volunteer. I know that that'll be the case. After all, I mean, we have a volunteer fire department and, you know, they come when the fire alarm goes off and, certainly library duty is no more difficult than fighting a fire.
And at this point, with what the library has laid out for a schedule, that they're gonna be open with the reduction of their staff, they're only gonna be open from whatever it is, noon to 6, Monday through Friday. So, the majority of working people are no longer gonna be able to use the library. If I wanted to, there's no way in heck I could,
yeah.
as a working person that works in Brattleboro. So you're gonna have a lot less traffic through the doors, and those people that utilize it on a regular basis are typically the ones that are in there during the day. And I think we need to rely more on volunteers than we do, in more departments than just this one, but this has the biggest budget gap, in my opinion.
I would like to amend the motion to 70,000. That's taking the gross wages, cutting it in half, and then adding in the same expenses.
I'm okay with that.
Do I need somebody to amend, to second my amendment?
Yeah, he's gonna, the second is gonna be, withdrawn, his motion's gonna be withdrawn, and the new motion is now,
That the library
70,000.
budget is 70,000.
okay,
And I second that 70,000.
alright. Okay, I'm gonna call for a motion if nobody's gonna, speak. All those in favor, the motion's been made and seconded to, make the library budget to 70,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
I just can't make up my mind. But you have 4 ayes and one totally messed up woman.
I know, but you gotta go one way or the other, Sandy.
No, I don't.
No, she can abstain.
Okay,
I'm gonna
that's
abstain.
what you're gonna do? Okay.
Yeah, because I can't
All right, so I'm
figure
gonna
out.
poll the board. Go.
Aye.
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 I'm gonna
Abstain. Okay. All right, so we got 4 ayes and 1 abstention.
And
All right.
I don't mind it being cut. I'm just,
That was a lot of math really quick.
yeah. Thank you.
I know, you wanna stay on the fence and be the good guy, right? I don't blame
No,
you.
I just don't know.
My last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Sandy, do you remember the library
Oh,
budget
you
we
are.
had when Mrs. Brown was the librarian?
Yeah, I do. Remember taxes being $300 a year?
There you go.
Okay, so solid waste issues. Murph has been voted out. What are we gonna do with that? We gonna keep that?
Well, you could keep it, or you could change recycling to every week, which really only ups the service. The tipping fees stay the same, service goes up a little bit. That's just decisions, or we could rent
He said what?
Murph's.
Yeah, well, how much did he say, $10,000 a year or something like that?
I'm
What
gonna
did he
meet
say?
with Bob tomorrow, because this just came out on Thursday, so I'm gonna meet with him tomorrow, and he has worked out some numbers about what recycling might cost, if we decided to purchase our own MRF or buy these bins,
We're not buying our
Purchasing
own
MRF.
MRF, that's a M something recycling facility,
Oh,
or
that's
not,
the
no,
facility.
yeah, no,
Or
the bins, you're talking about the
bins.
bins, just to
Um,
clarify, we're not gonna build a MRF here.
Yeah,
Mine
no.
too, I've got a headache, terrible.
Yeah, check.
So I guess we need to look at the difference between keeping a MRF open in town versus going to weekly recycling and see what the
Well,
expects to.
The other thing, if, I would say, we don't need to make a decision at the same time. I mean, we don't need to make changes right at the same time. I think my recommendation, I guess, would be, you know, we get rid of the bins, we don't buy them, certainly not, cause I know David tells me he's not sure how they make it back in one piece, they're so rotted and rusted out.
Yes, they are.
So, so my suggestion would be, you know, June 30th, they get rid of the bins. Let's wait and see what happens. Because yes, the bins are being utilized a lot, but I wonder by whom. And I mean,
Good point.
realistically, I do think that we'll end up going back to weekly recycling.
So I think
that
that-
would be my preference. However, I make do, you know, I need to get a bigger bin because
Yeah, me too.
I'm overflowing every other week. But I
Yeah.
can manage, it's just a bigger bin in my basement, whatever. But I'd be interested to see really what the demand is from residents.
Okay,
'Cause-
but I think that because we're gonna be doing our articles and everything, we need to put that extra money, up into that article so that and we're gonna be working on these articles, the 3rd of January, we have to do them and get them done. So
That's a good idea.
that would be
Yes.
something that we would have to
Yeah.
do, okay?
So should we budget for bins? Should we budget for
Both.
every week recycling?
I think every week recycling.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
get
I
rid
know
of the bins.
David would like to get rid of the bins, you know, with the surveillance and the illegal
Yeah.
dumping and this and that, it would make David happier if we got rid of the bins.
I know, but we're for the people, not for just David, and
Well,
I
no,
don't
I
mean that
know.
as an insult to David,
Right,
because you
no,
know,
I know.
I really appreciate
know.
him, but.
So we can
I just
budget.
don't know what the bins are, I mean, I think
Cause the townspeople may want those bins.
they might, yeah, absolutely, they might, but
And
I
that
think.
could be something you could bring up at town meeting as, you know, other things brought up, get their idea, what would you people like?
Yeah.
You know, would you like us
I-
to keep the bins?
I think it would be an either or.
Yeah.
I think the townspeople would either like to have the bins available 24/7, or they would like to go back to weekly recycling. I don't think they're gonna want both. I
No.
think whichever one would
I
cost,
would hope not, no.
whichever option would cost us more, that's what we should budget for.
Mhm.
And then if people say, no, we can stay at every other, you know, it'll save us money to stay at every other week recycling and we can manage without the bins, then we come out even better, you know, at the end of the budget year.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I agree.
I think the
All right.
majority of the people that utilize our MRF right now are residents, because I know I have 2 recycle bins. And it doesn't last me a week,
really?
so I'm down at the MRF
Wow.
every weekend getting rid
I'm
of
Yeah, I
doing
know
really
Lolly
bad job
is too.
recycling apparently.
Yeah, I know Lolly is. All right, so let's do it that way, okay?
Okay.
All right, we've already done the tracking expenses by department. We've already finally approved the budget.
I can't believe it.
We have no public for participation unless Ian would like to say something. No? Correspondence, media, no again.
But I have one correspondence actually, I'm sorry, I have one thing, it is from First Light, about the, what is this, the Northfield, study that was going on, and that, it went well, pretty much, so it's nothing.
About the water fluctuation and
Yeah,
the
so it's, yeah,
river
I get like, I just
erosion.
got like 10 of them today and haven't gone through them all, so this is one
Okay,
of
their
these.
study went well.
I try to look to see if there's anything alarming,
yes.
and there's nothing,
All right.
so.
Then I'm gonna
That
ask
was it.
if that's it. Is that it, Michelle?
Yes, that is, oh,
Okay.
no, the treasurer.
You're gonna.
Okay,
know
just a
little
minute.
more about that
Let's,
than
we'll
I
do the treasurer in a minute. The budget work session for tomorrow night has been canceled. I hereby cancel that. All right, so the personnel issue is for 5 weeks of vacation for an outgoing, our outgoing ex-treasurer, ex-assistant treasurer. All those, I mean, whoops, sorry. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay.
What are we motioning here?
It's a-
Yes, okay, I'm gonna repeat this. All right, motion's been made and seconded to, give Sally Stearns, huh?
Sally Brassor.
Brassor, I'm sorry, I know her as Stearns. I keep forgetting life has gone by me here. Sally Brassor, 5 weeks pay on outgoing and,
We've given her our best regards.
and, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and we, as Sandy said, we give her our best regards, thank her for all the years that, she worked for me for 2 or 3 years before I left, and as an assistant to me, and, great gal, and, she's done a lot for the town, and we appreciate her. All right. So, now we move on. Regular meeting? Next regular meeting is January 3rd. The next regular meeting after that will be Tuesday. I'm sorry, the regular meeting, the next regular meeting will be Tuesday, January 3rd.
Yep.
And the next regular meeting after that will be
Tuesday.
also Tuesday, the 17th or the 18th? I'm not sure. 17th, okay.
That's what was on the paper.
Yeah. And then, I wanna wish everybody in Vernon and everywhere a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Hanukkah, yeah, whatever.
Can I ask a quick question?
Season's
before you-
greetings, but Merry
before you
Christmas.
log out? Are we in jeopardy of missing any deadlines with regards to anything
Not yet.
regarding the town report and budgets and all that?
No, not yet.
No, because you just did this tonight.
Yep,
Okay.
that's the big part
I
right
just-
there.
The audit.
Okay,
An overview, that's all. Thank
we
you.
are adjourned.
I'll keep you on track.
Good night, everybody.